Hi, I'm Ben. Today I'm going to be playing a 50-point Steamroller game against Miranda, and I'm bringing Kromac 2. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully he does well.
Hello, I'm Miranda, and welcome to another Warmachine battle report. You've just met Ben, a player from my local meta. Today we have a 50-point game of Khador versus Circle Orboros. Circle is being led by Kromac, champion of the Wurm, along with a druid wilder. His battle group includes a Gnarlhorn satyr, a Riphorn satyr, and a Warpwolf stalker. Joining him is Una the falconer with 2 Rotterhorn griffins, a unit of druids with an overseer, a unit of shifting stones with the stonekeeper, and 2 black-clad wayfarer solos. Khador is being led by Supreme Kommandant Irusk with Silas Wishnillir and a bonded Grolar, a unit of Widowmakers, a Manhunter solo, the Great Bears of Gallows Wood, a full unit of Man-o'-War Shock Troopers, an Iron Fang Kovnik, Saxon Auric, a full unit of Kyazi Assassins with the Underboss, 2 units of Kyazi Eliminators, and Ayana and Holt. We are playing the Steamroller 2015 scenario incoming. We have both picked the fuel cache objective. My opponent wins the starting roll and decides to go first. Kromac and Una stand at the edge of their deployment zone, surrounded by their battle groups. The black-clad wayfarers take up opposite flanks. Irusk deploys next to the Grolar. The Man-o'-War and Kovnik are on the right, and the Kyazi and Great Bears are on the left. The Druids and Shifting Stones line up against the advanced deployment line. The Widowmakers take midfield, and Saxon Auric and the Manhunter begin in the forest. Circle turn 1. Kromac activates first and spends 3 Fury to cast Aggravator on himself. He then spends 2 Fury to cast Awakened Spirit on the Stalker. Then he charges forward, targeting a Widowmaker across the field. The Druids activate and advance up. The leader casts Counter Magic, and the Overseer casts Elemental Protection. Then the remaining Druids cast Summon Vortex to create a Cloud Wall. The Shifting Stones activate and place up the board. The Stonekeeper then casts Stone Form to gain an additional 4 armor. The Riphorn satyr riles and runs for 2 Fury. The Gnarlhorn also riles and runs for 2 Fury, but he stays behind the Cloud Wall. The Stalker activates and warps Prowl. He then runs up by the Druid Overseer. One of the Rotterhorn Griffins riles and runs up behind the Riphorn satyr. The second Rotterhorn Griffin runs up behind Kromac. Una activates and spends 3 Fury to cast Watcher. She then charges Irusk, thanks to her Bird's Eye benefit, which lets her ignore clouds. The Druid Wilder runs up next to Una. One of the black-clad Wayfarers uses Phase Jump to place next to a Shifting Stone. The other black-clad also Phase Jumps next to a Shifting Stone. Khador, turn 1. Irusk allocates 1 focus to the Grolar and keeps the rest on himself. The Widowmakers activate and a couple advance up the board. The remaining 2 stand still for the aiming bonus, hoping to have range. The first sniper takes a shot at a Druid, but is just barely out of range. The next aiming Widowmaker shoots at the Riphorn Satyr, needing a 7 to hit, and makes it, causing a point of damage to Spirit. This triggers Hyper-Aggressive, and the Riphorn moves up the field. Another sniper shoots at the Riphorn, needing a 5 to hit this time, which hits, and causes another point of damage to Spirit. This triggers Hyper-Aggressive again, and the Riphorn only moves about an inch. The last Widowmaker shoots at the same target, hits again, and causes another point of damage to the Riphorn. This time he chooses not to activate Hyper-Aggressive. The Manhunter activates and runs. Irusk activates and casts Tactical Supremacy on the Kayazi Assassins. He then moves up onto a hill behind the objective. The Kayazi activate and issue a run order. Thanks to martial discipline from Irusk, they can move through other warrior models. The Great Bears activate and issue a run order to hang out behind a wall. Saxon Auric activates, moves back about an inch, and performs his star action Reconnaissance on the Manowar, granting Pathfinder to the unit. The Iron Fang Kovnik tows into the forest and performs his star action Shield March on the Manowar. The Manowar issue a shield wall order and move up 6 inches, thanks to the Kovnik star action. The Kayazi Eliminators activate and run up ahead of the Great Bears. The second unit of Eliminators runs in with the Assassins. Silas advances up near Irusk. The Grolar activates and spends a focus to run up near Irusk. Ayana and Holt activate and move up behind the Manowar. Then Ayana casts Aisla's Veil to gain stealth for the unit. With all models done activating, Tactical Supremacy takes place, and the Kayazi Assassins advance 3 inches. Circle, turn 2. Kromac reaves Fury from the Stalker, Gnarlhorn, and Riphorn, and goes back to 7 Fury. Una reaves 3 Fury back from the Rotterhorn Griffins, and spends 1 to upkeep Watcher. Kromac lets Aggravator drop, and upkeeps Awaken Spirit. The Blackclad advances toward the Riphorn Satyr, and targets him with Stone Spray, which happens to catch 2 Kayazi Assassins. He needs a 3 to hit the Satyr, which hits. He needs a 7 to hit the first assassin, and makes it. And then another 7 for the last guy, which hits as well. It's power 14 on the Kayazi, so I roll tough checks because they're in Irusk's command range. The first one fails his tough check, as does the second. It's dice -5 for damage to the Riphorn, and the beast takes 3 damage to Spiral 1. A Rotterhorn Griffin activates and puts the Acceleration Animus on a Druid. He can see the model because of Bird's Eye. He then advances upfield. The other griffin activates and advances up. He then casts his animus on a druid. The Gnarlhorn activates and advances onto the hill, staying close to a shifting stone. The druids activate and advance up the board. One druid targets a Widowmaker with Force Bolt. He needs a 7 to hit the sniper and makes it, causing my model to be pushed 1 inch toward the druid. The sniper fails her tough check and dies. The next druid targets a Kayazi, but automatically misses because of stealth. The Overseer targets a Widowmaker with his star attack, the Devouring. He is just short of the target though, so a 4-inch AoE deviates 1 inch and catches 4 of my models in a power 8 blast. It's dice -3 on the Eliminator, who takes boxcars to the face. She fails her tough check and dies. This causes a command check, which thankfully they pass. It's also dice -3 on the Widowmaker, which triggers a tough check, which also fails. The unit takes a command check and passes. He rolls dice -3 on the Assassin, which triggers a tough check, which he passes. The last Widowmaker is dice -3 and must also make a tough check, and he also passes. The druid leader casts counter magic, and the remaining druids, including the ones with acceleration on them, cast Summon Vortex again to create a cloud wall. Kromac activates and advances up into the clouds. He then spends 2 Fury to cast Awakened Spirit on the Riphorn. Then another 3 Fury to cast Primal Howl. The Riphorn activates and casts his animus, Irresistible Force, for free. Then charges my Grolar. He takes a free strike from an Assassin, who needs a 3 to hit, and makes it. It's dice -9, which is boosted, and he causes 1 point of damage to Spiral 1. The Riphorn needs a 6 to hit the Grolar, and makes it. It's dice -4 for damage, and the Grolar takes 4 damage to column 2. The second Bladed Gauntlet also hits. He boosts damage and causes 6 damage to column 4. His chain attack, grab and smash activates, and he chooses to headbutt the Grolar, again needing a 6 to hit, which makes it. But Irusk's Bond grants my Grolar immunity to knockdown. It's still dice -4 for damage, which the Riphorn boosts, causing 6 damage to column 3. The Riphorn uses his horns to attack, which hits. He boosts damage again and causes 8 damage to column 2. He buys 1 last attack, which hits, but causes no damage this time. The Druid Wilder advances and casts the Griffin's Acceleration Animus on the Blackclad. The Blackclad activates and moves into the clouds with the Druids, then targets the Kayazi Underboss with Stone Spray. He's short of the target, but catches 2 other assassins. He needs 7s to hit them. He hits the first model, and misses the second. It's a power 12 attack, which is enough to trigger a tough roll, but the assassin fails and dies. Because of acceleration, the Blackclad then phase jumps to the stone near the Gnarlhorn Satyr. Una activates. She discards 2 Fury and runs up behind Kromac. The Shifting Stones activate and place further up the field. The Stalker activates and warps Prowl. He then riles and runs. Khador turn 2. Irusk cannot allocate any focus. Silas upkeeps Tactical Superiority for free. The Grolar activates and shifts slightly closer to the Riphorn Satyr. Both weapon systems are still intact. He needs a 6 to hit with the piston hammer and makes it, which knocks down the Riphorn. It's dice -1 for damage, and the Growlar causes 7 damage to Spiral 6. He automatically hits with the open fist, and at dice -4 causes 7 damage to Spiral 1. Since he is a virtuoso, the Growlar then shoots at the Riphorn, hitting on anything but double ones. The shot connects, and I roll dice -7 for damage and cause 5 damage, which is just enough to kill the satyr and make for a happy Growlar. Kromac collects the fury from the fallen Riphorn. The Widowmakers activate, one sacrifices movement to stand up, and the leader stands still for the aiming bonus. She targets the Blacklad, needing a 5 to hit. The shot connects, and she rolls damage at dice -3, causing 4 damage to the Blacklad. The second sniper targets the same Blacklad, this time needing a 7. He hits and causes an automatic wound, which kills the Blacklad. The Manhunter activates and charges a Shifting Stone. This, however, triggers Watcher from Una, and the Rotterhorn Griffin advances and attacks the Manhunter. The spell grants a boosted attack and damage roll. He needs an 8 to hit and makes it. Is dice -3 for damage, and the Manhunter dies. Irusk activates and advances up the field. He casts his feat, Desperate Ground. Now my friendly faction models gain Pathfinder and can see through clouds and forests. Enemy models suffer -2 speed. Irusk then spends 3 focus to cast Battle Lust on the Kayazi Assassins, granting them an additional damage die on melee attacks for a round. He then takes a shot at a druid in the clouds, boosting the shot. He needs a 12 to hit, and just barely misses. The Kayazi Assassins activate, and the underboss performs his mini-feat, Killstroke, which allows the unit to move through models for a turn. He then issues a charge order. Most of the Kayazi are within Kromac's Primal Howl, and will suffer -2 to attack rolls. The first assassin automatically hits the Shifting Stone at dice -6. He destroys the stone in one fell swoop. The next assassin attacks the Griffin, needing a 7 to hit due to the Druid Cloud. The attack hits at dice -3, causing 10 damage to Spiral 2. This assassin needs a 7 to hit the Druid, and hits at 4 dice, which instantly kills him. A grunt is field promoted to leader. The next assassin needs a 9 to hit due to the Druid Cloud, and he misses. The underboss needs a 6 to hit his charge target, and hits, instantly killing the Druid. This assassin needs a 7 to hit the Stonekeeper, and misses. And the last assassin needs a 7 to hit the Griffin, but he also misses. The Kayazi Eliminators activate and charge a Druid. The first one needs a 7 to hit and makes it, which kills the Druid. She sidesteps 2 inches, but cannot get close enough to engage another Druid. The second Eliminator unit charges a Druid, needing a 9 to hit this time. The first attack misses, but her second attack hits. It's dice -4 for damage, and another Druid is destroyed. This triggers a command check, which they easily pass. The Eliminator sidesteps back 2 inches. Saxon Auric activates and tries to shoot the Blacklad, but he is just out of range. The Ironfang Kovnik advances up into the forest and performs his star action, Shield March, on the Man-O-War unit. The Man-O-War activate and shield wall up 6 inches. A Man-O-War uses his shield cannon to shoot at a Druid. He needs double 6s to hit though, and misses. Another Man-O-War tries the same, but misses as well. Ayana and Halt activate and move up. Halt takes a shot at a Blackclad, but he's out of range. He makes a second shot at the Druid, needing a 10 to hit, and misses. Ayana recasts Aisla's Veil, granting her and Halt stealth. Silas moves up onto the hill with Irusk. The Great Bears activate and run. With all units activated, Tactical Supremacy kicks in and the Kayazi advance 3 inches. Khador scores 1 point for controlling the enemy zone. Circle turn 3. Kromac reaves Fury from the Stalker. A Shifting Stone removes 1 Fury from a Griffin using Serenity, then Una reaves 3 Fury. A Rotterhorn Griffin activates first and positions just out of reach of Una. He then performs his star action, Shrill Shriek, which catches 2 assassins, a Shifting Stone, and the Gnarlhorn. It's dice minus 10 on the stone, which causes no damage. It's also dice minus 10 on the Gnarlhorn, who also takes no damage. But it's dice minus 3 on the assassin, which kills the first one, and also the second one. The Griffin then puts the Acceleration Animus on a Druid. The Shifting Stones activate and place up the board. Then the Stonekeeper casts Rock Hammer on one of the Shifting Stones, hitting on anything but double ones. It connects, and the 3-inch AoE catches one of the Kayazi assassins. The stone takes dice minus 4 in damage and is hit for 1 point. It's dice minus 4 on the assassin, who dies. Una activates and advances onto a hill, and then boosts a shot at an assassin with her ranged weapon. She is just outside of stealth range though, so the shot misses. She then targets a closer assassin. Una boosts the attack, needing an 8 to hit, which misses. We randomize for another target in melee, which ends up being my other assassin. The attack misses because of stealth. Una fires a third shot at the same Kayazi, again needing an 8 to hit. This time it hits and kills the model. The remaining druids activate and shift around. They can't move as much because of the movement penalty from Irusk's feat. The Overseer casts the Devouring on a Kayazi assassin. He needs a 6 to hit and makes it, which kills the assassin. It's dice minus 9 on the Griffin, who takes no damage, and dice minus 5 on the Eliminator, who takes 2 points of damage. The last druid summons a cloud again, and the leader with acceleration on him does the same. The Rudderhorn Griffin advances toward my Eliminators and performs Shrill Shriek, which catches all 3 Eliminators. It's dice minus 3, and the Griffin boosts all 3 damage rolls. The first Eliminator is disabled and fails her tough roll. The next Kayazi is also disabled, but she makes her tough check. The last Eliminator takes 2 damage, leaving her with 1 left. The Stalker activates, warps strength, and walks toward my Eliminator. He needs an 11 to hit my Eliminator in melee. The first attack misses. He buys and boosts another attack, which makes it and kills the poor girl. She's not close enough to Irusk to get a tough roll. Her death triggers a command check, which the unit passes. The Wilder activates and advances her full movement since she was outside of Irusk's feet. She then casts Lightning Strike on Kromac to give him Sprint. Kromac activates and moves up within reach of the 2 Kayazi behind the wall. Kromac needs 10s to hit my little assassins, so he starts swinging. He boosts the first attack, which misses. He buys and boosts another attack on the underboss, which also misses. He buys and boosts a third attack, and this time he hits. But the underboss is tough. Kromac buys another attack, which automatically hits, and my assassin passes another tough check. Kromac spends his last fury to buy an attack, which finally kills the underboss. This triggers sprint, and Kromac moves back 4 inches and gains a corpse token. The Black Clad activates and advances into my zone. He makes a spray attack at Saxon, needing an 8 to hit, but misses. The Gnarlhorn activates, riles, and runs a whopping half-inch. Khador turn 3. Irusk keeps all his focus, and Silas upkeeps tactical supremacy. The Kyazi assassins activate and move to engage the Stonekeeper and Druid Wilder. The assassin needs a 7 to hit the Stonekeeper and makes it, but only causes 1 damage. I need a 7 to hit the Wilder, make it, and roll dice -1 for damage, which kills her. The Widowmakers activate, stand still to aim, and target Kromac, who they can see thanks to Irusk's martial discipline. They need 5s to hit, and the first shot misses. The second shot hits, and he takes a point of damage. The Mana War activate and issue a shield wall order, then move up toward the Stonekeeper and stones. 1 Mana War takes a swing on the Blackclad, needing a 7, which hits. It's dice +1 for damage, and the Blackclad dies. The next Mana War swings on a Druid, also needing a 7. He hits and kills the Druid. Another Mana War attacks the Stonekeeper, needing a 7, but misses. The next Mana War goes for the Stonekeeper. He hits at dice +1 and just barely kills him. The last Mana War swings on a stone, which automatically hits at dice -4, leaving the stone with 1 box. Ayana and Holt activate and move up to try and get range to Kromac. Holt shoots at Kromac, needing a 6. He hits and rolls dice -6 for damage. Kromac takes 2 damage. The second attack misses. Irusk activates and spends 3 focus to cast Battle Lust on the Great Bears. He stands still to aim and boosts a hand cannon shot at Kromac, needing a 6, which hits. It's dice -6, which I boost, and Kromac takes 3 damage. The Great Bears activate and issue a charge order targeting Kromac. They gain Pathfinder on the charge and can make it into melee with him. One of the Great Bears triggers a free strike from a Druid. He needs a 6 to hit, but misses. Kulsk makes his charge to Kromac. Yarovich makes a backswing attack on Kromac, needing a 6 to hit. The first attack connects. As a charging weapon master with Battle Lust, I roll 5 dice at dice -6. Kromac takes 11 damage. The backswing also hits, and with 4 dice, kills Kromac, resulting in a Khador victory. So just to go into some post-game discussion, I figure we have Ben here to talk about, the game and everything. So we'll start out with list construction. We both knew that we were fighting, what faction each other was fighting. So Ben, how did you kind of approach list construction?
Well, I know you like Mana Wars, so I built my list trying to think about what actually can take on high armor, or at least do decent against it or control it. But I also know you have a penchant for Iron Flesh and either Kyazi or Winter Guard, something like that. So doing some experiments, I know I wanted Riderhorn Griffins because that Animus and its abilities are just way too good.
Yeah.
And then other than that, I figured with Kromac's feet, I wouldn't necessarily need a Gorax to take care of any armor you brought. So built a battle group around that.
Okay. And then the additional units, the druids.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Druids are the summon vortex alongside of Primal Howl. Can effectively make Kromac a defense 18, armor 18 versus living models, provided you actually have the fury to cast Primal Howl.
It's very frustrating to deal with. Yes.
Yeah. Top checks are a thing.
I was kind of approaching it the same way after researching and knowing how competitive a circle player you are. I was looking for a really strong caster that could handle mostly circle, and Epic Irusk really kind of seemed like the best bet because his feat, being able to see through clouds and forests. And I sort of started it out as an anti-Cassius list because I've struggled against that list so frequently.
I'm so happy I've done that to you.
And so as a counter, I've gotten that, and I think it overall worked more or less how I wanted. I did not expect to lose the Growler that early in game, but that was kind of my bad with hyper-aggressive activating, but even still, like, the Growler kind of did some stuff at the end.
He did. Oh, he got his vengeance right away. No doubt about that.
So there was that. So it ended up, we also noticed when we put our models down on the table, there really wasn't a whole lot of shooting. Like, this was going to be a scrum in the middle, very violent battle, which was exciting.
Yeah, Druid's purpose at that point is, well, you have Widowmakers, so I still need the clouds. Other than that, try to use the debuff as much as possible.
Yeah.
And, well, considering Man Wars never did more than toe into the zone, I didn't need Force Bolts all that often.
They did contest. Or they kept you from contesting.
Yeah, no, there was one turn that was relevant.
It was relevant one turn, yeah.
Yep.
No, the Mana War I went back and forth with, just not knowing if I needed them to be just a hard-to-remove piece from the zone, or if I would want them as a counter-punch. I figured I'd probably have to use them to kill the Riphorn or whatever that got in on the Growlar, but the Growlar took care of that. So then after that, I just went up and kept in shield wall to try and block maybe that flank toward Irusk. And then I was keeping the Great Bears back, waiting for them to hopefully have a golden moment, and they did, and it was so beautiful.
Yeah. No, the moment... It's like, nope, the moment that I missed what?
The underboss?
I missed the first attack on the normal Chaosy, and then the underboss tuft on the second one. Mm-hmm. Is that what it was?
The underboss tuft twice.
Yeah. So. I'm trying to remember, because 1, 2, 3... No, I missed the underboss on the first one. Because I had to go through all my fury to kill him.
And you were starting out with all 7, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so
got
boost
him
hit,
down. That's 1. By
no
boost,
fury.
that's 3. By boost, that's 5. And then force another tough check. And then finally kill him so I can sprint away, at which point my Rotterhorn was in the way, so I couldn't get that extra inch I probably would have needed for the last Great Bear.
Yeah.
That never made an attack.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
My feat really saved me that turn. It was like about as well timed as I could have hoped, which you'd guessed, turn 2 or whatever.
Yep.
But yeah, losing speed to kind of counter Kromac's charge, that's the way to do it.
Speed 4 is a little sad.
Although you hadn't feated that turn yet, or you hadn't feated that game yet, so if I hadn't killed you, then that would have been horrible. I would have died.
The feat wouldn't have mattered much at that point. When you have 5 dice charges, an extra +2 armor doesn't matter too much.
Yeah.
And if I did that, then I would have had a much harder time removing the shock troopers, should I have ever gotten to that point.
That's true.
You kept them away from the Stalker, which was good.
Yeah, no, he's also taught me very well to hate stalkers and either avoid them completely or murder them quickly. So, how do you feel about Kromac? What do you think of him so far as a new model?
He's fun to play. He is a lot of fun to play. It's a lot of fun to finally have Warlock and Circle that can actually go up to the front lines, do something, and usually not immediately die afterwards.
Yeah, no, he's got amazing stats. So.
Yeah.
And I think his spell list is respectable while still being like reasonably keeping Fury on you for transfers too. So
yeah, both Primal Howl and Carnage costing 3 each. I often have a hard time figuring out what to do with all his Fury. Yeah. It feels like I have to cast one, not the other, and sometimes it's a very hard choice to figure out which one.
Yeah.
For example, with your Bond giving +2 defense. Needing 6s to hit. I hate 6s to hit.
Yeah, I hate 6s to hit too.
I'm surprised I got all of them.
But you couldn't knock me down.
Nope.
Yay, Irusk. Anyway, so Awesome. Any closing thoughts on it other than that? I mean, I think it was overall an interesting game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm not going to keep Uno with Kromac.
No, not so much.
No.
Okay.
Being character-driven, I want her in a different list.
Who?
Well, either Kaya 1 or Kruger 2.
Kruger 2.
Yeah, and I'm actually experimenting with her with Cassius. How 10 screeches!
Okay.
Curse of Shadows.
Well, anyway, thank you all for watching. I would love to hear what your comments and thoughts are on this game. Definitely comment below, and we will see you next time.
Bye!